Our wildlife pond with a built-in Hibernaculum by UK Amphibians and All Things Wildlife. Part 30. Our wildlife pond tour in May-June of 2023. It's the 18th of May 2023. And as you can see, we finally decided to design the edge of our pond with the logs to finish it off and make it look a lot more appealing as you look around the pond, hiding the pond liner on the edge of the pond too. Also doing this, we can add some more plants to the edge of the pond, and my plan is to add some plants in between the logs and on the edges of the logs as well, which can sort of hang in the water and help any amphibians, any reptiles or insects or anything that could fall in the pond will still be able to get themselves out, as will be gaps in the side of the logs to pull themselves through, and with enough pond plants around the edges of the pond, this will act as sort of an emergency escape, so the anything that falls in the pond can still get themselves out. If you notice, the logs are sloping as well, which is a good advantage for anything that falls in the pond to get themselves out. But if you notice, the logs are not fully settled down on the pond. They have gaps underneath as well. So I put part topsoil on, but I have baked and poked gaps through underneath the logs as well, so things can get underneath the logs and out. So don't worry guys, I've made sure this is pond safe and pond friendly. For anything that does fall in the pond, it can get out. It's the 18th of May, later in the day, 2023, and I've started to plant the odd plants around the edge of the pond. If you look inside the edges of the pond, I've put some monkey musk, which will look nice when that starts to grow up in the summertime. So you can see here with the arrow, this is the monkey musk that's growing out, which I've planted in the edges of the pond under the logs to grow out and hopefully grow nice and tall this year, but next year will probably be the best year when it starts to grow and flower around the edges of the pond. And like I mentioned before, I wouldn't worry about anything falling in the pond. We've got all our area here with a sloping area to get out, and once the monkey musk gets growing around the edges of the pond, that will drape into the pond and also act as an escape route as well. But the logs are sloping, there's gaps underneath the logs, gaps at the side of the logs, so anything that does go in the pond and wants to get out will be able to get out nice and freely. So it's all safe proof, so I wouldn't worry about that, guys. It's also not really that sunny today, so there's not many tadpoles knocking about in the pond. There's a few here, but not as many as there normally is when it's on a hot sunny day. You can see some of the monkey musk I've put underneath the logs to grow out. Plenty of compost I've added around the edges of the pond to plant new plants. As you can see them on the other side of the pond too. Also, there's a lip on the edge of the pond where the pond liner is, which anything can pull itself out if it falls in. So the logs are not overhanging the water as well, which I wouldn't advise this, as this would stop anything that falls in getting out. They would struggle to get out if the logs are overhanging. So I've set them back a few inches so anything can get out as well. As you can see, the pond plants are starting to grow nicely. The yellow flag iris is growing out of the pond quite high now. The purple loosestrife is starting to grow in the pond. I still have a bit of algae bloom, but it's really looking nice now. I think it really finishes the edge of the pond with all the logs there. If you let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about the logs I've put around the edges of the pond, If you have any other ideas what you think we could do in the future, let me know in the comments as well. The red campion plant is looking lovely still, the lovely purple flower on it. It's the 24th of May 2023. A lovely sunny day. It's really hot today, and I've got some tropical fish flake out to feed the tadpoles. As it's hot, there's plenty of tadpoles swimming around the pond today. Like I mentioned before, the heat really brings the tadpoles out to the surface of the pond. And not only that, I've started to feed them as well with some tropical fish flake. This is a good food source for the tadpoles, and if you look closely enough, the tadpoles are going crazy for this. They do like algae, but they seem to like tropical fish flake a lot more once you chuck it in the pond like this. What I do with a tropical fish flake, I'll sort of get it out of the tub, and then I'll squeeze it so it make it finer as I put it into the pond, so it's in little small pieces, so it's easier for the tadpoles to eat it. And obviously the smaller the tadpole, it's easier to eat for them too. Sometimes you'll see tadpoles trying to eat large pieces, but if you make it smaller for them, it's a lot better. So you can see the toad tadpoles and the frog tadpoles are really loving the tropical fish flake. So it is a good idea if you do get any frog tadpoles in your pond this year, or toad tadpoles, get a little bit of fish flake and you can sprinkle this in the pond too. As an extra food source for them, it will help benefit them grow more bigger and stronger too in the pond. Sun is a big part as well, big part of their growth. It does help their bone growth, grow when they turn into baby froglets or baby toadlets, and also it does help them grow nicely in the pond too, with the natural UV light of the sun. It's the 25th of May 2023 at night. The temperature at night is 14 degrees, so it's nice and warm enough to keep the tadpoles active, swimming around the pond. The colder it is, the tadpoles will sink lower down to the bottom of the pond, where it's warmer at this time of the year. But as it's quite warm today, there's quite a few at the top of the pond, still feeding on a bit of tropical fish flake from the day before. I can see, because it's at night time, I can see quite a few newts knocking about too. They will tend to not eat the tadpoles now, they're quite large. They might eat the odd one or two, unfortunately. But as mentioned before, it's just a part of nature. They will feed on them to grow naturally and become stronger and be able to produce eggs for next year. We can also see a baby newt F there. This one will have probably been one that overwintered from last year with the size of it. So as it's nice and warm tonight, there's plenty of newts about as well as the tadpoles. I'm really happy with how the pond design looks now, with the logs on the edges of the pond. If you notice, now it's warmed up a lot. Well, most of the frogs will have disappeared now back into the garden, foraging around for food to eat, and then they'll come back next year, same time in February hopefully, and breed again. Mentioning about frogs, here's one here. Probably feeding on the slugs and snails around the pond. Unfortunately, sometimes the frog tadpoles will eat baby froglets as well. But it's just a way of life. But as you can see tonight, it's really active, the pond. Plenty of tadpoles about, plenty of newts about, the odd frog about. Normally when it's warm like this, you will get toads knocking about because they'll be eating obviously insects and things around the pond. And the newts are still showing signs of breeding. As you can see, the male fanning his tail there. So if you can come out at night and you do have a wildlife pond, I would recommend this at this time of year because it's really active. Anything from February on, there's plenty of things going off. And here we can see a newt. As proof as the edging that I put around the pond, it can show you that a newt can squeeze past and get out and get in as he pleases. So that's good evidence. So you can see quite a few newts on the edges of the pond getting in and out freely. It's looks like it's going quite crazy tonight with the newts about. I do get smooth newts and palmate newts in my pond. I'm hoping to get great crested newts in eventually. There is some ponds local to me that do have great crested newts in. So I'm hoping they might possibly make their way here one day to breed in my wildlife pond. The plants are looking really nice on the edges of the pond here. The purple loosestrife is starting to grow up, so they have nice purple flowers on in the summertime. I'm really loving the red campion flowers here, and I love this flower here. Can you tell me what is the purple flower? Lower down. It has a purple flower, and it normally flowers springtime-ish. That one, which is nice. So the pond's looking really active tonight, which has been nice to see. Heat helps, and obviously the time of the year too. It's the 27th of May 2023, and to our surprise today, we have a lovely dragonfly. So see if you can spot it. And what is it on? It's on our dragonfly perch, which is even better. So it just shows that pieces of wood like this that you can stick up out of the edges of the pond or from inside the pond and out, they do work for the dragonflies. The dragonflies use this for a main focal point to keep an eye on any predators about as they hang around the pond trying to breed with males or females. So you can see this dragonfly here likes to fly around the pond, eating any insects that's flying above and around the pond. The main thing, when I created the pond, I put plenty of plants that flower around the pond which attract a lot of insects which the dragonflies love. So it does help bring the dragonflies to the pond because of all the insects with all the flowers around the pond. You will get more and more dragonflies every year. And what do the dragonflies do? They'll lay the eggs in the pond. You'll have more larvae in the pond which hatch out more dragonflies. So you'll have more and more as the years go on. think this dragonfly here is a male broad-bodied chaser. Males have blue abdomen with yellow spots on the side, which is really similar to what we're looking at here. Females a golden brown abdomen with a paler spots on the side, so it's definitely not a female, and it looks more like a male broad-bodied chaser. The length of these guys are around 39 to 48 millimeter. It is one of the most common dragonflies in Europe and Central Asia. It is very distinctive with a very broad flattened abdomen, 4 wing patches, and in the male the abdomen becomes pruinose blue. The flight period is from April to September, but are mostly seen in May and June. Their flight is very fast as they dart and dive above the water. They are very territorial and will fight with rival males and any other dragonflies they happen to encounter. And you always find they will return to their favourite perch, like this one here. It's the 2nd of June 2023. It's nice and sunny and the temperature is 17 degrees outside, so it's a really lovely, nice day today. Here is a common knotweed plant that I've planted around the edge of the pond. I've started to plant some Yaris plants as well, which these plants that I'm planting are brilliant to attract butterflies and bees and insects around the pond. So walking around the pond as it's warming up, summertime is here and everything is starting to get ready to flower, which is lovely to see. Here is one of my oxeye daisy plants which are just starting to flower here. You can just see the buds coming up. Some young seedlings growing up, I'm not quite sure what they are. But they should hopefully be growing and start flowering in the summertime. Looking in the pond, still plenty of tadpoles knocking about. Still quite a lot of algae, but obviously with the heat from the sun, we can't really stop the algae growing. So hopefully the tadpoles will try and eat most of it. Some of the monkey musk around the edges of the pond where I planted under the logs are starting to grow tall and flowering too. They should come back a lot stronger next year. Here's another plant I planted. And here's some of my other plants. I think that's wild majorum that's starting to grow up, so that should flower in the summertime too. Looking at the tadpoles thriving once again today. Some are eating on the algae, the floating algae around the edges of the pond. Some have gone down deeper into the water. As it's a large pond, they seem to have spread it out a bit more today, enjoying the lovely warm weather from the sun. You can see I've chucked some more tropical fish flake in for them to feed on as well. You can see some tadpoles are starting to grow their legs now, so it won't be long as they will be leaving the pond as young froglets or young toadlets. Obviously the froglets will leave a bit earlier because the frog spawn was laid a month before the toad spawn. Here's my love red campion flowering. Some nice yellow monkey musk flowering here. And plenty of tadpoles eating on the fish flake in the pond and the algae. see more tadpoles here feeding on the fish flake around the edge of the pond. So the pond is really looking lovely today, very active with all the tadpoles in the pond, looking nice and tidy with the new design around the edges of the pond. The monkey musk is starting to grow up and it will soon be flowering at the top of the pond here as well. Hopefully the wildflower seeds that are planted will start to grow up. Some bees flying around the pond, maybe having a little drink from the pond too, as it's a nice warm day. So thanks for watching part 30 everyone. Stay tuned for when part 31 comes out, which will be real soon. In part 30 will be our wildlife pond tour of June in 2023, which will be a great watch for everyone to watch. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, hit the notification bell and hit the subscribe button too, then this will notify you when our next video comes out. If you haven't seen how we built our wildlife pond, and it's built in Hibernaculum, look out for part 1 after this video, and it will take you to our main video where it shows you when we first ever started and how we built our pond and its Hibernaculum. So that's it guys, look for part 1 and it will take you to the first ever video we created, and we also have a playlist to watch from there too, which is a great watch. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like and comment on all our videos, and don't forget to subscribe to see more amazing content like this by UK Amphibians and all things wildlife today.